We'll resume about our county commission meeting, Monday, November 30th. Mia Whitfield, you're on.
Cal, just like that, boom. Well, I asked to be on the agenda along with these folks with regards to the BOR land transfer. Kind of an update. The land we sent the letter in through a bunch of pesky phone calls. They passed the request off. Basically, BOR said, yeah, we want to get rid of that land. We don't want it. And they passed it off to the Government Service Administration, the GSA. The GSA called me up and said, we're starting the process. We're going to go ahead and start doing all the things necessary to have this land transferred. The land can be transferred to a government entity, which you guys qualified for, as well as the city. We kind of started this project as going to the city county, but once they came here, they said it needs to go to one entity, and it needs to go to the entity that maybe has money. And so in the discussion, I've been before the city council. They don't have any issues with the land actually when it does transferring to the county. And the reason they want to see it transferred to somebody who has money is in case you want to do any improvements or you need funding for the land. The city doesn't have funding. And currently, for the last, it'll be 50 years in 2024, the city has been the leaser of that land. And these people, we've got the golf course, Rod and Gun Club, because Virgil's not here, and Mike with the softball fields, they've been subleasing. But the lease expires in 2024. So at that point, BOR does not have to renew the lease. They could, but they don't have to. So the purpose of this, the trust board approached me and said, we need your help. We want to get this out of BOR hands. One of the issues with BOR is you can't do anything without waiting months and months for them to come and look for whatever they want to come look for. And it would become a part of the community. It wouldn't be BOR land anymore. So we've moved into that phase, and we've gone through, letters got sent, everything's going great. Once GSA finishes their paperwork and signs off on it, it goes to the National Park Service. And then I start working with them on filling out this large form that they have. And the reason for that is the land can only be used for recreation, period, finish. Once it's transferred, it can only be used for recreation. And the current goal is to transfer it to the county. There would still exist the county city board to help oversee it, so that there's an intermediary for everybody and a group that's working on trying to see the future for all parcels, which you guys have discussed at commissioner meetings, and so has the city council. I'm kind of sitting in the middle, and I'm trying to be the objective one through all of this. And I see these folks, and I can see there's a little bit of trepidation and fear, because all of them have invested lots of money and lots of time into these parcels. And they've had this lease with the city, sublease, for these pieces of land. And I want to kind of chat with you about the intention so that they can feel more at ease, and it's kind of on the record. Because from my understanding, I don't think the county really wants to take over those parcels and manage them. Oh, look at the heads. And these folks have done a great job. So the hope is that once it transfers a new lease, because they have leases with the city, a new lease will be created with these organizations and the county. Something similar to what they had with the city. I mean, I don't think you want to micromanage them. No. But I also noticed, and I'm going to tell this group this, that in looking at those leases, they're very vague, and there are a couple items that I think the county needs to add. One of those is anything that has to do with environmental and debt. Because if, for some reason, you guys do something to the land, you spill oil or gas or diesel on it, Rod and Gun Club drops lead on it, the county needs to know that you're going to take care of that. And those kind of things aren't in that little lease. And it doesn't need to be some big blown up thing, but it does need to stay in there. That you guys are responsible for that. So it just needs to be a little more stringent. Not super stringent, but there's a couple things that are missing that were actually on the BOR lease. And that's one of them, environmental and debt. Because if you do something and you create a huge debt and the come and say, we're gonna take the land, you have to go, well, I don't own the land, but we don't want them coming after the county. So I pointed that out, thinking that it needs to be adjusted a little bit. But these folks need to know the intent. Because the way it currently looks, if all goes, because it's gotta go to the National Park Service next, if all goes as planned, I think it's gonna roll to the county. And it's gonna be underneath your umbrella. There are a lot of advantages, because all of these guys carry separate insurance, that maybe there could be some kind of insurance that is grouped together, so it lowers it a little bit for them. But my concern is for them, because I also want them to continue doing the good job that they've been doing, and I recognize the fact that they've all put in hours and hours of time and managed to rake up the money to do it. And the trust board has put aside some money already into an account to help, because the National Park Service wants to see that there's some funding, so the trust board put $20,000 into an account already for this. Because National Park Service wants to see, because there's a vacant parcel of land involved in this. A vacant parcel that used to be the pork farm. You guys know where that's at? So that parcel is also included in this. And they want to see that there's money to do something on that parcel instead of just leaving it vacant for the cows to look at. So they want to verify that you have money to do that, and the trust board, since she represents you, he's here, Steve, did already put $20,000. But I kind of wanted to have a little bit of an open discussion. I just wanted one of each of the representatives to come here so that you could discuss what the intention is when it actually rolls.
Thank you.
Did I ramble on too long there?
No, just
No.
right,
All right.
just right. So, where do we go from here?
It'll go to the National Park Service. Once that happens and it rolls over, once it actually rolls to the county, new leases would have to be written, because the leases that they currently have are with the city, and the city won't be the owner, the subleaser, and the lease will have to be with you. So a new lease would need to be done, and I'm sure your county attorney would want to be involved in that. I think they would prefer that it's not some document that nobody ever looks at that's 1,001 pages. And I think we're small enough to where it doesn't need to be. That's my personal opinion. So a new lease would have to be written. And I think they want some kind of a guarantee or some kind of a thought process that, well, land's gonna roll, maybe we could do a 10-year lease with the county. That's how their leases ran before, we're in 10-year increments. And we can have a 10-year lease to continue doing what we've been doing and look at that as being the way that we're actually going, so that they're subleasing. They paid $1 a year, so $10 for the 10 years to sublease, and then they took care of everything that's been done out there. Of course, being underneath the county umbrella, if there is funding, you could expand and make those recreational areas even better for the community, which they don't really have that option right now where they sit, because they don't have any of it.
One of the requirements is, of course, you get a plaque on it, so we've hired shoppers to take care of that. And they've also said, what do you have in mind for it in the future? So we had a recreational plan on that Poor Farm ground probably 20 years ago that Don Shopper worked up for us. Via Shoppers and Shopper Survey, they've brought him back in. He's going to resurrect that plan for submission with this. So we don't have to follow it, but it's just to show that we have put thought into it and intend to keep it as recreation. So those are two more steps that we will have completed.
What would you want it to be down there, Steve?
You know what, we had 20 years ago, and I'm going strictly from memory, and that's pretty scary. But it's, we set it up for ball fields and soccer fields with bathrooms and concessions and a kind of a central ball fields. We're going to be back to back. I think we had a tripod system on those, so there's 3 ball fields. But we can also, there's 10 acres there. We can also have enough area for soccer, you know, and have a central bathroom and a parking lot. So that's what we had in mind that many years ago.
I know the Pee Wee football has been discussing the fact that there's nowhere for football. So, yeah, so a piece of, on that 10-acre parcel that can be used for multiple purposes would be good, soccer or football.
Now that 10 acres is not in the land where the current ball fields
No.
and the golf course is.
It's it's
It's
over
out
by
by
the
the
mill.
mill.
Mia's put a lot of time and effort in this, so hats off. She keeps us on track.
For sure. Mike, what would you want done with your part?
Well, we had a memorandum of understanding between the Rod and Gun Club, the golf course, and us that we were gonna add 2 more fields at the present site, to the east of the Rod and Gun Club. And at one point, at some point before 2020, those trap chutes were supposed to be moved out.
Oh, okay.
And that really has nothing to do with our 2 ball fields where they would be situated now.
Where are you gonna go with the trap shooting?
I'm not aware of that. And
Oh,
I've
all
heard
right.
it discussed, but I am not aware that that's going to happen. I think it's a good idea to move it. And I think up on the site, on the larger acreage up there. But again, we're looking at, this is, once it's in local hands, then we can say, okay, let's get everybody together. What's the big project? Let's move that out of town. That's gonna be a residential area, and you got trap shooting right in residential. This is a personal opinion. If we can afford to translocate those up on the hill, get trap shooting up there, we've got our long range up there, we've already got some development there. They've got a nice building. How to utilize that building as a county recreational building for additional meetings, for when they hold their ball field stuff, and maybe the golf course could use it, and, you know, have it more of a, okay, what is the new plan for recreation? So, all pretty, not distant, but needs to be studied pretty hard. And right now, we're going, well, let's just get behind this and get it in local hands, and so we all get to make that decision, but.
And the other part of that understanding was that the Rod and Gun Club would still retain that building. That would still remain their property.
Oh, okay.
So in that way, the sheriff's department that has their shooting range there could still use it there without having to go to the hill. That was the intent, that they would retain that building.
There's a fair amount of law enforcement money that is not being tapped into, I think, from a training standpoint. And if we could get somebody, you know, of super high qualifications, and go after grants in that direction, and all of a sudden now we can team up and maybe get a new state-of-the-art facility for the local shooters as well as law enforcement up on the hill.
I have to tell you too, since he's saying that, not that I'm gonna be the one that you guys hire to do grants for you, but it's hard to write a grant for something you don't own. It's hard to get money, to invest money from somebody on something that belongs to somebody else.
So that makes sense.
One of the good plus sides of this coming into community hands and county hands is that then you could write grants for that. But you can't ask for money and give it to put on somebody else's property, so.
So we help them do it right. The money we put in there.
Well, you're a nonprofit association, but if I were to go after federal or state money, which is where a lot of that funding comes from, you have to own the property that you put in.
And by the way, it's our understanding too that trap shooting would be moved, and there's a copy of that agreement that Mike was talking about.
Okay.
And it will be attached to this lease.
Well, once it comes into the community hands, like Steve said, then there's that chance for everybody to get together, figure out how to make it all go, but at least it'll be in our community.
So with the golf course, are you hoping to make another 9 holes?
The plans originally were for another 9 holes, which would go in where the current ball field is, and if the trap shooting is moved out, it would go in that area there. That's the long-range plan. There's nothing in definite time frame for that, because that would all have to be studied and see whether or not you can make it pay for itself.
This
Which
would
might
date
be a
me.
problem.
When I was a kid growing up, where the golf course is now, was when the guys would all be irrigating. There was ducks everywhere out there because of the water. That's so bad.
But, you know, we'd still like to retain that option to put in the other 9 if that ever becomes economical piece. It would be nice to have 8 people also.
It sure would. Questions?
So, Madam Chair, what you guys are looking for today is a solidification that we will take the leases you currently have, to create those as close to what you have right now, only under the county, so that you have that assurance that we're not looking to make any big changes. And then, step 2 of this is to acknowledge that Schaubers have a master plan from years ago. We're going to submit that, but with the understanding that we're going to use this new board, which will be different than the Parks and Rec board, but with a like mission to determine what is the best use of those properties, how to best incorporate the new 10 acres. Am I close here? And do you guys have any?
Well, the
Debates
plan
on either of
that
those.
that Schauber has is not tied to the Bureau of Reclamation ground that these 3 organizations are presently on. I mean, that plan is a quarter mile away, half a mile away
Yep.
from from these 3 groups' facilities.
That's on the Poor Farm, right, Steve?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's all tied together in that this is one package. And so the new board would be tasked with using that as a jumping off point and determining what do we want to change, what do we want to keep, what no longer works today that looked really attractive a few years ago, or just adopting the whole thing as is. They'll have to spend some time looking into that, right? Okay, so for today's purposes, what we really want to do is assure you guys and get it on record that we're not interested in making any really big changes. We really want this to just be a smooth transition so that we can go to the next step of getting the land under county from BOR, right? All right, I
Well
think that's,
stated.
thank you very much. I think that's fairly easy to do.
Well, the concerns that I think Mia was talking about, and several of our association members have voiced this, you know, is if this goes through and the county becomes involved, then is the county gonna be telling us how to run the golf course and what we need to do out there and the changes that need to be made? And how about the employees that we employ? We're not interested in becoming county employees or anything like that. So
We don't want you either.
yeah, well, we're good employees. But, you know, that is the concern, that if, it's been operating that way since, well, back in the 70s, basically the way it's going, and
I think what we want to do is kind of mirror what you have been doing, at least speaking just for me. I would like to
They're
mirror
all
what
like
has
this.
been done and not make any big changes. I
Right.
don't think we're in a position to incorporate you guys into county entities. I think this would still be 3 private groups working in partnership with the county, but not a county takeover. I just think it doesn't serve anybody to do that, is my opinion.
I agree, 100%.
Yeah, me too. Well, the only change would be is your leases, whatever you want, like you just talked about, a few little minor items, would be the county instead of the city. That's about the only change probably would be taking place, as far as I can see.
And Mia mentioned a 10-year lease, and that's what we've been operating under, but we would like to look at the opportunity maybe to extend that a little bit. The golf course might be there.
You can, that's state statute, so.
That is state, that's a long.
It is actually, he's right.
Thank you for that, I didn't know that.
That's
Helps
why
to have
that's why the BOR subleases are all 10.
You can hang a 10-year addendum to it, so you actually can get 25.
Oh,
You have
thank
to be
you,
careful on that
Commissioner.
bending. That's-
That's one that'll get you.
So we'll have you help with that.
So are you just waiting to hear from,
I am waiting, GSA is still putting all the papers together. I spent a day with 3 people they sent here. One from Texas, one from DC, and one from somewhere else. And we walked all the parcels, and they're putting together a packet that goes through the entire property, and everything in conjunction with it all. And he told me his goal was to have that submitted and signed by the GSA. He was gonna submit it to the GSA this week.
oh,
And then once the GSA signs off, then it goes to the National Park Service. And that's gonna be another fun one, but these people are so nice, they're giving me this guy's name and his phone number and his email. And I've already contacted him and he sent me an email, says, "Who are you?" I said,
Surprise.
"Well, remember my name because you're gonna be talking to me a lot." So then it'll go to the National Park Service. They're all government entities. Actually, when the trust board asked me to help with this, I think they were thinking like 3 years maybe. And it's been a year to get to this point.
this is a lifetime contract, you guys.
Right?
So he thought that if we pushed hard, that maybe we could get this done by the spring, even through the National Park Service, if we push hard.
So to the
I have
question.
red
of-
hair, so I'm gonna work on that.
I can appreciate that. So in the interest of pushing hard, do we need to start changing these leases from city to county now? Or is this something that?
As long as the city ones are in place to get through the paperwork process, and we were missing a couple, but we're taking care of that. As long as they're in place for the transfer, then once it's ready to transfer, then we'll start doing that.
Okay,
But not yet.
Not yet. I would say maybe once we move to the National Park Service section, and we might want to start contemplating it. Once I get in touch with him and he gives me a list of all the things I have to do, besides what the pamphlet is that's this thing, then it may be in that list.
okay.
And there'll be other things that have to be done. There'll be some environmental things that may have to be done, like a little environmental checklist that comes with it, and things like that. But I'll work through that process. The trust board asked me to do this. They're the ones who are actually paying me to work for them to do this. And I'll go through that process. There's all kinds of other things they want, aerial photos of it, not everything keeps getting passed to the next government entity. So I'll probably have to pass a lot of what I sent them to them.
How many acres are down there at the old Poor Farm?
That's a 10-acre parcel. It sits right on those 2 roads. It's actually kind of a nice location. Easy to get to, a little bit
That's
out
true.
of town, but it is only 10 acres. But
What
when
else is-
I actually talked to BOR and asked about that parcel, they said, "We don't own that parcel." I said,
Oh, but you
"Yes,
do."
you do." I said, "Yeah, you do." They go, "Oh, okay."
They offered to sell it to us for $65,000 about 20 years ago. And we went, no, deed it over to us.
So they knew they owned it at that time.
Right.
Yes, somebody forgot after that.
Yeah.
My understanding with GSA is that this land, if it's going to a government entity, and I also thought there would be some costs involved, they're picking up all these costs. So, somebody said, you can't say it's free land, Leanne, but I can say that you're not being charged a per acre fee for this land. This land will become part of the county at no monetary per acre cost, which is,
Very good.
yeah. You guys can thank the trust board for that.
Yeah, thank
We're
you.
lucky to have a little money to be able to think ahead of us.
And truly, your board is made up of people who do have a vision for the future of this community, and that's why we're even sitting here today. So thank you collectively to all of you guys.
I think of the 3 engineers, they had 5 engineers come up when we did the Broadwater Bay study. And they just showed up with their fly poles. They just came up to go fishing. And they did like a 2-day tour of the lake and the spots and what we had in mind, but then they went fly fishing for the rest of the day. And they said,
wasn't
why do you
so
want
much.
to put that bay in? Because people are gonna come, you've got this all to yourselves, why do you want to do that?
God, that's been such a good economic.
It has, a good shot,
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Remember when that first started?
yeah.
So back to the leases, just checking in with you guys, realizing that Corey was just in here, which brought this to mind. There may be some changes that he sees that need to be incorporated into leases, but from this commission, we're not interested in micromanagement taking over. We really do want this to be a mirrored, just change city to county and have it be mirrored leases. Are you three good with that? Do you feel comfortable after today's meeting that we're all on the same page as far as this goes?
In terms of the leases, I lost my train of thought now, but, if I understood Ray correctly, that would just be some legal stuff and adding things in there that we kind of have to follow in our operations out there. And I don't think that's much different than what this was intended to be, because it refers back to the lease from BOR to the city, and it says you have to follow that, and that's got some of that stuff in it.
It does, but that'll disappear. So that is gonna have to get incorporated into this. Yeah, you got it.
Any leases that come up in the interim between now and the actual transition, it would probably behoove you to go before the city-county recreation board and to renegotiate those leases.
We can do that.
And we might have a little heartburn if we try to start putting things in there that's gonna cost us a lot of money. You know, if
Absolutely.
it says you gotta do this, and that costs a lot of money, because we're kind of operating just on a break-even basis right now.
Sure,
So,
I think they kinda all are.
But I do think we'll be easier to work with than BOR. That's an easy statement to make.
well, I think in terms of some of the regulations, we've all had experiences with that.
Yeah, my concern was that in the lease by itself, without the BOR attached to it, it's missing those pieces. Because in the BOR lease that the city had, it says, you know, you're not gonna cause any environmental damage to the land or create some large debt that the city would have to, you know, it kind of goes through that, so. And I can be sure that Corey gets a copy of the one that they currently have and the one that the BOR had, because there's language in there that you can just cut and paste, pick up.
Thank you for that.
The golf course wanted to put a bathroom in it, and so we ponied up a little part of the cash. But getting through Bureau of Recs, come out and look for an arrowhead, they come out and look for an arrowhead in the parking lot every time. And it's, just because we looked at it 2 years ago, we have to we have to wait another year, so we can send another guy out or team to look for an arrowhead in the same parking lot. So it delayed the bathroom in excess of a year, so.
And Mike is trying to do gravel out there?
Yeah, see, we had the Deep Creek Drainage Project, they were going to, in that National Guard up, they were gonna haul that dirt out there to dump it and level it for 2 new ball fields, but since we hadn't gotten hold of the BOR, we couldn't do that, because the same thing, we hadn't done an archaeological thing, and we hadn't done an environment, so you'd have had been a hold of them a year ahead of time to do that, and the ditch project would have happened in like 3 months, so you never would have got it done anyway, so that cost us the expense of hauling the dirt plus having it all level. So that's, I mean, that was all free, it would have been free. So then that's the hangup with the BORs, whenever you do anything, they have to come look at it, but like Steve said, they look in the same spot for an arrowhead every time, and I don't think it's growing out there, I haven't seen a tree. So they ain't gonna show up, but that's the headache that you have, if you have it in county hands, at least you can communicate with the people that are in charge and get something done within a month instead of 6 months or a year.
And supposedly every time, even if we plant a tree or anything out there, we're supposed to go through that process.
Yeah.
you're talking about.
I like that supposedly, Jerry.
Slip of the tongue. What do you need from us today then?
Basically, I think what you guys have said, I just kind of wanted it on record so that everybody would feel comfortable, because I've been talking to everybody, but been passing information, and I just wanted to put them at ease, that they would know that it's, you know, kind of gonna continue the way that it is with a few minor things here and there. The plus side to having a board would be that they all have a way to communicate with each other and work through anything. I see that as the positive. I just wanted it on record, and you guys have all, by the shakes of your head, and that your intention is to kind of continue the way they've been going. I just wanted them to have that in front with you guys, so that you would all be working together too.
We appreciate all the hard work you've done on this.
Yeah, thank you, Mia.
You're welcome. It's a good project.
A job well done.
She works cheap if you have anything else coming on.
We'll keep that in mind.
No, thank you very much. I think everybody feels better about where we're headed, so.
Fantastic.
Appreciate your time. so
Thank you
much.
again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes. Come on up. I just sent Anna that report.
Trust called and there was one other change they made to the insurance in 90 days, so I was texted doing some. Read it right after this.
Good.
So hopefully it's.
Oh, I just found
That's a good
My
question.
grandparents can.
I know.
All right. So did you get in on the Indy 500?
I was at my mother's. Well, no, he did.
Oh, I just the end of it. I mean, I was off.
It was right in my front yard.
Went right through it.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're fortunate that that ended the way it did, so.
Oh, very much so. Did it do anything to any of our vehicles?
Yeah, we got
Mine.
the one Andy was
I thought
driving.
Aaron Foley was gonna be here.
Brenda's truck's at the shop. It's got some front end damage and stuff. And it stopped before the other guy's vehicle too. We were, probably 100 yards. It stopped before the other guy's vehicle did, so. Apparently the Chevy ran a little further in court, but of course the guy had a little less care about his vehicle, so.
Wasn't his.
Exactly.
than we did for ours, but we linked it, we drove it to Ford, there's no power steering, and a little damage to the grill guard and, the bumper of the vehicles.
Are they gonna give you an estimate of that damage?
Yeah. Well, it's probably not an estimate, they'll just.
Oh, yeah, they'll have to do it,
Yeah,
yeah.
we just have to have it back. They'll fix all the mechanic stuff, I guess the cosmetic stuff would have to go to the body shop, because it broke the bumper, so. Front bumper. Just broke on the right side.
Leave town and see what
I
happens.
know. Crazy. Thanksgiving Day seems to be when stuff happens. Turkeys are loose.
Okay, Tori, go ahead with
Well, we have a full collective bargaining agreement for the commissioners to sign, but we're on our second draft and it's still not complete. Aaron, we had sent some stuff to Aaron Foley last week. She did a couple edits and sent it, second draft today. I've been through the second draft and it still has some errors. And she had sent an email, she was gonna be here today, so I thought we were gonna be able to finalize it and get it signed. So either she's late or I'm not sure what's going on, maybe the roads are bad. Oh, she can't make it? Okay. So this is not ready to be signed. It still has some typos and some other things in it that aren't what we agreed to. So what we might do is just run through what those fixes are. Have any of you seen this document? Oh, I thought this was the, okay, well, I printed off what I thought was her second draft, so I'm on her first draft. Okay.
So, we could schedule it for the 7th, next Monday, you
Fine,
think?
yeah, that's fine.
I'll be gone.
We'll be gone.
I'll look at my-
Do you have to sign it?
Yeah.
I don't know, we all have to sign it the same day either, we don't have to. The ones who have to probably do it in a meeting are probably you three, everybody else can do that. So we can do that, and then Doug would have to test it.
Are you here the 14th? We could do it then.
I think the only thing that this one that I signed was still out was the nurse pay.
The nurse pay still need to be included, right? And you sent that note too, didn't you, on the note? nurse pay?
Uh-huh, yeah.
The retroactive on the health insurance was not correct. The hours were not correct on health insurance.
She did do that one.
The date of the agreement should be through the 2018. Yep. And then I had a few other typos that I had found. So what we could do is we could have all of you sign it on next week, and then we can catch Brenda whenever we catch her.
Okay.
So that would just help get us a step closer. So I will email her back today with, I'll sit down with Brenda, we'll make sure we capture everything. Were there any other things that jumped out at any of you that needed to be fixed?
Yes. Can I ask you to just set me at ease on this?
Okay.
I have a couple of issues with the health insurance being included in the CBA. It's, when we had that first meeting, Aaron had said anything new brought up has to be brought up in the first 3 meetings.
Okay.
Well, the health insurance addition to the CBA was brought up in literally the very last meeting after everything had been agreed to. And then we have the issue of the retro or not the retro, but yet the CBA has dates of 7/1 through 6/30, 3 years from
Yeah,
now.
how come is the health insurance in here?
I think it should be separate, just like the market adjustment
Yeah.
policy.
This is a great
Because- Yeah, and you guys negotiate that contract completely separate from the CBA.
Yeah,
Because it affects all county employees, not just the CBA. See, that's the question that I asked. It shouldn't have nothing to do with these dates.
I'm really uncomfortable with it being in the CBA.
Well, let me ask you a question. On the previous one, this lined out paragraph, health and welfare, was that in the previous CBA? The
No,
one that's lined out at the bottom of that? I've got the whole
No.
copy right here. You look at it.
Oh, wait,
I think it was actually, but it was just such a general, the whole reason we have this health
To be
insurance is
full-time.
because of the union. Yeah. So I don't have a problem with that kind of language, as long as it's general. I went.
Well, I wonder if that's
Copy
why
chair.
she did it, because it was updated. Yeah. Here's the original Schedule A, and it is the one, the paragraph like
yeah,
that.
it's this right here.
Health and welfare, county will contribute monthly toward health insurance coverage for full-time employees. In the bargaining unit, purposes of health insurance plan must work a minimum of 32 hours per week to be considered full-time. County raises its contribution, blah, blah, blah. Well, that's why it's in there, because it updated that language.
I don't have a problem with updating the language, I just think it shouldn't be as specific. Personally, maybe just a sentence along the same lines, but I think this needs to be
Yeah,
separate.
I don't like the fact that they've got, the county agrees to pay $1,090 per employee.
Yeah, that's not gonna stay, that won't be set, that amount for 3 years, will it?
Now, I wasn't privy to that update.
She just sent it today.
Oh, I haven't checked, well, we've been in meetings, so yeah, I haven't gotten it.
Okay, well, that's a great point. I will go back and talk to her about that.
I mean, if they want the 120 hours to be considered full-time, like that, I can see it, but not holding the feet to the fire.
I think we're tracking that, Chuck.
Sounds familiar, yeah.
Yeah.
So that's what I was trying to get at when I sent the last email with the retro back to where she had it back in January 2015.
And I think she recognized that was an error, so. Okay,
Rhonda, you're kind of on the different side of the table this year, aren't you?
yeah,
Yeah.
that's right. Let's come
Welcome.
over, 'cause
Come over from the dark side.
No, he's come over to the light.
Okay, well, then I'll get a hold of her on that, make that correction.
And we'll shoot for next Monday.
Yeah, I have a trial all week, and so I'm concerned about how much, we all have a trial, we all have a trial next week.
How about him? How about me?
Oh my gosh.
Oh my God, how many Lucys are there in this room?
We have a trial this week.
Supposed to be a team.
Team!
There's no I, team.
It's a team. So, anyway. Somebody said that to my son the other day, and he goes, yeah, there it is. Wait, how do you spell team?
Yeah, but he's 4, right?
Seven.
No, he's 7. Oh, still, he's got
He runs around reading every sign now. Dad, this says, I'm like, yeah, you're awesome, good on. Okay, so we have some work to do on this.
Tell me on the insurance then, because I'm the one that gets hit this time. With it. Because I'm not on the county insurance, I've got state insurance.
So now you are on the county. But as of the decision, because of the decisions you made last week, you will be on the county insurance. So you can have 2 insurances, or you can dump one of them. I have 2, because I have one through the guard. And so I have to, I don't know, my wife does it all, so I don't even know what happens, it's magic, but it will usually select the county one as the primary insurance. And so first, and then we have stuff that's like that, we take that for a second. Does that sound accurate?
That's exactly how I do it.
And it's pretty good insurance, so if you wanted to dump the state one, you probably could. And the state's provider right now is Cigna, and they're horrible. So,
Yeah, it's
they're horrible for some people, they're good for others.
But if she's thinking of retiring,
Yeah, because you have a year left in your term, in which case you don't want to dump it. Yeah, that makes sense.
something to think
Hadn't thought of that. Yeah.
So what is this one gonna cost me?
$1,200.
110 a month.
Pretty much.
I'm sorry. I didn't even come prepared for this meeting, and
Well, it turns out it was a meeting that we, I was gonna keep working on stuff. Typical government meeting, we get together and go, yep, gotta keep working on it, see you later.
all in favor of adjournment?
of. So that's the nurses' wages, we agreed in that meeting with,
We agreed that it was equal to the other county nurses, or equivalent, but depending on various factors. So was it starting at 20?
it's 1831.
See you when.
See you later.
Debbie's question, I think, was, there's a base pay and then the public health nurses get a stipend on top for their WIC, some of the other grants that they're under. So are we talking the base? Because I think that's the 1831, I can't be 100% sure, and Debbie's on vacation till next week.
Well, she wrote down 18 to 2231 was the regular, that's what you wrote down. When we had talked, we had used the number, through our meetings, when we had used the number of around $20 for the detention nurse. I don't know if that was a set number, we were just saying that was kind of the aim.
Well, if, it seems to me the two are tied to each other, but what are they tied to? Are they tied to the base? Or are they tied to what the public health nurses make with their grants? Grant funding for what they do specifically underneath that grant.
I don't know if we ever talked about that, but the detention nurse has been there longer than the others, I know that. Right. Is that accurate?
Well, she's more longer than those two have.
Oh,
So I guess that was the question Debbie had, is one I hadn't thought of during negotiations. I didn't understand that there was a stipend paid above the base, so whatever we need to do. But that's why Debbie couldn't come up with a number, she needed an answer to that question.
And do you know what that base is for those public health nurses? It's 18 something?
I think it's 1831, but I'm not sure. My thinking is it would be the base. If Karen gets a grant that gives her a stipend for doing something extra and she gets a certain extra, then I would think she would keep that. But I would think it would be base to base, just like with electeds, it's base to base. That's just my opinion.
I don't know, I just remember we were using $20 for,
Because of the years and. I think that's what we decided on that day.
what Aaron had said was that they were looking at her in terms of equivalent education and duties. That was where that's where that rate, that was. In fact, I think they were trying to pick something that was the midpoint. I don't remember ever having a discussion about funding sources, so.
I don't either. I don't remember what Brenda's talking about. I do remember talking about bringing Karen up to what the public health nurses were making. I don't recall getting any other specifics. The 20 was a guesstimate. I think they're making around 20. So whatever the specific needs to be is fine by me, but it should be added to the CBA.
Well, I'll look at my notes, because I thought we'd come out with maybe not a number.
And I would trust the notes
Nurse
to
pay, I
form
wrote
my-
equivalent to other county nurses. Sounds like we all were using roughly the same language. Let's see if this has anything on it. So I guess what I'm hearing from on the Schedule A health insurance is that updated language about health insurance needs, that's fine, but not the tying us down to that language, because it's not gonna endure, it'll change based on cost of health insurance. Is that accurate?
Yes.
And that it,
I think
and
so.
it doesn't need to be in the CBA because they'll have different effective dates. The effective date of the CBA will be going back to July 1, the health insurance is effective tomorrow.
Just that those people that work 120 hours plus will receive the health insurance is all they basically need in there. They don't need all the rest of that number in there.
Okay. That's good. All right.
Oh, this was fun.
Brenda, anything?
I'm
For
just
the good of
trying
the
to,
cause?
I'm just trying to wrap my head around being on this side. How this side works.
Study that day.
Debbie's gone this week?
Mhm.
Tell me.
I think she comes back the 8th, which is next Tuesday.
Oh, no, they're all out of order.
Okay.
You're gonna be loster than you were.
Thanks, guys.
See ya.
Thanks.
I have claims in the amount of $29,812.60.
Make a motion to pay claims as the amount stated.
Second.
It's a moved and seconded and pay claims in the amount of $29,812.60. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carried. got a letter from Vigilante Electric Co-op telling what the charges are gonna be. They're the new charges. A letter from the Department of Administration, the local government entities, from the Local Government Service Bureau, the new local government portal. And it tells everything about it.
Thank you.
And we've got some journal budget entries.
Those are just September, October, and November.
Mhm.
I thought we had done October, although they're not signed, but I don't think any of them from prior to that got signed last year. So I did want to double check unless you want to just review them again. August.
I think we've been through them, but I couldn't. Come in, sir.
I just dropped off, we talked about PIL today. So I was asked by Corey to have our attorney look at it. So our attorney wrote a 3-page letter on PIL and then sent a lot of other information. And that cost us $2,200. I mean, and all of the information is right there in front of you. And I can get you a copy too.
Thank you.
Thanks. It's hard to tell when none of them got signed last year, and that's something the auditors are going to.
Scream at us.
Yeah. And I think we do have it on record that we did share that necessity with the chairman at the time. So I guess that's all we can do at this point, but there's August, just in case. And I review them as they come in.
Pardon me?
I review them as they come in. So I've reviewed these ones.
Where's that stamp?
It should be downstairs, I'll go see it.
Oh, no, no,
You
that's
want them now? Want it now?
next time.
Okay. Yeah, you want us to just call you? Are you 9219? All right. Thanks, Ann.
Thanks, Ann.
Okay. Thanks, Ann.
I should have to sign every page. Should I?
Yeah. Oh, no, just the top page. Sorry, I thought you were saying every single, journal, just the top page. At least that's what the auditors have requested.
Those are September and October?
There's September, October, and November, yes.
Yes. I'd have that stick over there. Please.
Yeah.
Oh, you know it.
No, that's just sarcasm.
Yeah, that's what they're called, knucklehead.
Who is it?
Some people up out of Vando,
Oh,
they go around buying all those
oh, okay.
knucklehead. They've been doing it for years and years. that much. These ones, I know you have.
Still at it. These are dedicated to the cause today.
have an office now?
Is that?
Does Seth have an office now?
That's the one that we're working on, I believe, wasn't it?
I'm not sure.
I know. So, I can call her back to you and let her know. I told her I'd call her back. All right, thanks.
I wonder what they served those guys for Thanksgiving.
I don't know, let's see, it was on the TV, wasn't it, where they're showing the ones
In
in
Helena?
Militia Clark, and they said something prepared by the prison, so I assume that, they had the same thing for every place they disperse meals.
And I can't remember what they said, but something to the effect that you knew it was turkey dinner.
Yeah, I believe so. Had a little extra, I guess, or whatever.
So did you guys go somewhere for Thanksgiving or?
No.
Everybody was here? Okay, I'd entertain a motion on,
Can we call Ann back?
yeah,
Hi Ann, this is Laura. I'm wondering if you have time to come up for a little bit. Thank you very much. Bye.
I don't think I saw a set of minutes. Did
Oh,
they?
we don't have one. With the holiday, Ann didn't hear back from anybody,
Oh, okay.
so, she didn't get them done. Sorry, Ann.
I would entertain a motion then to approve the adjusting journal entries.
Is that your motion?
I said I would entertain a motion.
Okay, I'll make a motion to accept the journal entries.
Second.
Second.
Moved and seconded then to approve adjusting journal entries, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carried. Thank you, Ann.
You're welcome.
All right.
I have just a few things too,
Okay.
since you're back.
Okay.
We have an opportunity for a CTI employee. They wanted her to start tomorrow, but it looks like, if she's gonna start, it will be next week. One thing I would like to do, we already talked about approving, doing this, but we don't have a computer for her. Two of the things that I think would be great to have her start in on, one is updating the website, and two is helping Nicole get the board squared away. We have January coming up in less than a month, and I'm just not sure where that's at. So I would like to get a laptop that could be given to that one employee so that they can do their thing, and then it could be a floater for other departments that need it, for taking off to conference, that kind of thing.
Makes sense.
Are you good with that too, Franklin?
Yeah, it's okay with me.
Okay, so okay to purchase, and I'll follow up with CTI on that.
How long do we get her for?
We don't know. She's gonna be active and is right now actively looking for employment. So it would be one of those where we could be a training ground for a day. We could be a training ground for 6 months. So we just don't have anything on that. And one of the requirements to be a CTI employee is that you continually look for employment. So then, I didn't see it in the schedule book. Do you guys remember when our partner meeting is?
The what, the
Partners meeting? I can contact Corey and ask him.
Oh, okay.
I was-
Where's Llewellyn?
Yeah, it didn't get put in the book, and I can't remember when we talked about.
I wasn't here. I was out.
Okay, all right. I will follow up and let you guys know on that. And then the only other two little things here, I want these on the public record. There was a false statement made 2 weeks ago on the 9th of November, I believe it was, or the 16th, that it was the 16th, because that's the date of this forward. Brenda said that she doesn't get any help with her budget from our accounting office. That's absolutely false. I have a slew of emails here, and I also have the document that I came up with to save her budget, to save all her deputies' jobs, and to help provide public safety for the county. And I'd like these both submitted for the public record to rebut the false statements made by Brenda on that meeting. And then the other thing I have is a memo to Commissioner Salifka, and I have copies for you guys. And basically, I'd just like to publicly challenge Commissioner Salifka. On November 16th, Commissioner Salifka knowingly made a false statement that Broadwater County had not turned in a county audit in 2 years. Commissioner Salifka was one of the unanimous votes that voted on the audit schedule. There was a contract and payment structure signed in public meetings with Denning, Downing and Associates. He was involved in that. The completed audits were presented to the full commission for signature and approval in a public meeting. He was here for that. Commissioner Salifka spoke personally with Kim Downey regarding audit findings and was interviewed by John, who was working with Denning and Downey on the audit specifically. All commissioners were requested to attend the exit interview, and Commissioner Salifka was given copies of the exit interview results. So for him to claim that that was an error is not true. That was an absolute false statement knowingly made. On November 2nd, 2015, Commissioner Franklin Salifka falsely announced the hospital was broke and couldn't make payroll. He had attended a meeting with Board of Investments where the opposite was discussed at length for about 2 hours. On November 9, 2015, a hospital district board member appeared to give Commissioner Salifka more information and asked for a retraction of the false comment. Commissioner Salifka claimed he was just repeating rumor and refused. Commissioner Franklin Salifka owes Broadwater County citizens an apology. These false public statements presumably were made to discredit employees, the commission, the hospital, and general county practices. It appears the only purpose for this false statement is to further erode the public trust, to hinder progress, create more work, and perhaps to sabotage. Commissioner Franklin Salifka also violated Broadwater County Public Process Policy and Open Meeting Policy when he violated Robert's Rules of Order to yell, interrupt, and help to incite an already volatile crowd in the commission meeting of November 16, 2015. And I'd like to submit that also for the public record. Proof can be found on YouTube on video.
Thank you.
You're welcome. That's all I have.
Nothing else for the good of the order?
No, I'm still just laughing. Laughing.
For the watch.
10 to 3. Well, like 7 to 3, but I think Are they still sliding down there?
Oh, my word.
Thanks for coming back up, Dan.
You're welcome.